Holy Moley by Marcus Pfister. Same guy that wrote The Rainbow Fish. Tim and Matt, two young mole brothers, were sitting together in a nice grassy field. They were as different as night and day. Want to play something? Asked Matt. Playing is good, said Tim. What should we play? We could make something. Making something is good, Tim nodded. I've always wanted to make a hill, said Matt. A really huge hill. Hills are no good, said Tim. They're hot and high. I would much rather dig a hole. A really deep hole. A hole? Asked Matt. We spend our entire lives underground. And finally, when we have a chance to be outside, you want to turn around and dig a hole? That's the silliest thing I've ever heard. Mama said that we have to dig a lot of holes to become strong moles, said Tim defiantly. Mama said this, Mama said that. Matt was getting annoyed. You don't always do everything Mama says. If we build a hill, we can see over the tall grass and find out what else is out there in the world. What else could there possibly be, Tim said. All you see is grass, grass and more grass, and a lot of dirt from mole holes. You're so boring. You have absolutely no imagination, accused Matt. I am not boring. Yes, you are. Then Tim shoved Matt, and Matt pushed Tim, and soon they were rolling on the ground. I don't want to play with you any more, cried Tim, and stamped furiously away. Who would want to play with you anyway? Matt bellowed after him. So Tim began to dig his own hole. It was no fun at all, but at least Mama would be proud of his good work. And Matt worked just as hard in his hill to show Tim that he could build a giant hill all by himself. But the ground was hard and the work was lonely, and as the two moles dug in the dirt, their anger melted away. And so did their desire to be digging all alone in the field. Tim longed to lie down in his hole and take a nap, but his hole was still way too small. Matt longed to be high on his hill, looking out over the world, but even though he stood on the tips of his toes and craned his neck as far as it would stretch, his hill was still much too low. He simply could not see over the tall grass. He decided to take a peek at Tim's hole and see how he was coming along. Tim was also curious. He slipped through the grass to spy on Matt. He wondered just how big his hill would be. When Tim saw Matt's hill, he shook his head. There was something funny about this. When Matt saw Tim's hole, he couldn't believe his eyes. They had both built exactly the same thing. By digging a hole, Tim had tossed up a pile of dirt, making a small hill. By building up a hill, Matt had had to dig up dirt, leaving a small hole. Matt was the first to snort with laughter. Then Tim giggled, and they crawled out of their hiding places. Once again, the two of them rolled on the ground, but this time they were laughing. That's what we get for fighting, giggled Matt. If we'd worked together, then you would have had a deep hole and I would have had a huge hill. We still can, said Tim. Come on, let's go. The two little moles put all their energy into the work. They shoveled and scooped and piled and packed, and soon the hole was big enough so both of them could stretch out side by side. And the hill was so huge that, well, Matt couldn't wait to climb to the top. "This is great," said Matt. "Let's climb the hill." "First I want to take a little nap," said Tim, and he curled up happily in his hole. Matt climbed up his hill. He gazed, full of astonishment, at all the wonderful things in the world.